All right, baby. Carver and sometimes Lisi. That was the way it used to be. But welcome to Lisi and sometimes Carver, the NFL and college picks on the horizon. Week 4 in the NFL, week 5 in college football. I've been tallying up all the records. Fear not, I have Carver's picks. They're locked in the safe. We did not talk about any games throughout the week. So this is a surprise. I'll read out Carver's picks. Do love the college football slate for this coming weekend. I put out 3 pods with Coach Bowden, did 2 videos throughout the week, ACC, SEC. If you followed any type of college football for me this week, you sort of know where I want to go. I did mix it up on some of the picks out of the 7, so it's not cookie cutter. I added a couple of games on there, mostly underdogs on my slate. Now, I will say this: Carver's been out, and I don't knock a guy around. I know that, but I did the tallies, NFL and college, and I don't know what do we start with first? The college. We always do the college. So, all right, college picks. I mean, Lisi on fire, 24-12. We hit the Mortadella specials last week. This Mortadell, Texas, and over Sam Houston State, 51.5, 55 points by them Longhorns. We're trending at a 667 rate. 24 of 36. Carver's got to get off the schneid. He could do that. He's done it before. I don't want to knock him when he's down. He's away this week. Family trip. He's deserving. But he's off to a rough start. And he's got to regroup, just like Clemson. Can he get off the mat? Could he give the team a sort of pep talk? Could he get them all amped up this week? We'll see. I will say, love the college picks. The NFL, battling in the cold. The NFL for me is a letdown week. We knocked it around last week. The only total and game we lost was the over Jacksonville and Houston. Ironically, Carver was on that game as well. Call it what it is. It could have been a perfect slate. We hit the Mortadella specials. We hit everything. Jets, they almost won the game outright. Browns outright. Unbelievable picks. This week, a little tempered. I feel good about the NFL, but I really like the college. So we're going to dive into it. It's going to be an abbreviated version of the show. I told Carver I would put him out, and we'll dive right into it. So what I'll do is I'll read off Carver's picks. I'll add whatever background I know about the game, and then we'll take it from there. Battling this cold is tough. So pick number 1 for Mike Carver on the college side. Now, let me just put up the picks again. He's 16-22 overall. I'm 24-12 heading into week 4. 24-12, 24-12, 24-12. 16-22. He's trending at a 42% hit rate. All right. Pick number 1 for Mike Carver. Illinois plus the 6.5. Illinois got smashed around by Kirk Cignetti and Indiana. It's a bounce back spot potentially for the Fighting Illini. You look at their quarterback, Luke Altmaier, USC coming off the win but no cover over Michigan State. They laid basically 17, 18 points. They won it by, I think, 17 right on the number. So, again, this is a USC team from a defensive perspective. Every time they go up against blue-collar teams, they struggle, especially on the road, especially in run support, and that's why Carver does like Illinois. I sort of, if I was betting this game, would take the Illini plus the 6.5. Just when you look at it, I think Brett Bielema is going to attack this game. Hey, let's see if USC is a legitimate Big Ten team. They're coming to our house in Champaign. Let's see if they could shut down the run. We'll see if they could do it. If not, it'll be a long day, and Illinois will bounce back with an outright victory. I think they could potentially be live in this matchup. I'm not sold on USC big picture. They're in the top 25. I like Bielema over Lincoln Riley, so it's a good pick by Carver, pick number 1. Pick number 2 for Carver. LSU Ole Miss under 57.5. So this is on my card as well. I'm on the side, but just to talk about the series as a whole, when you look at it, 57.5. I just got to double check that because I think it's 52.5. Let me just double check, get you the updated odds where we stand right now, because we always do it on Friday. Last time I saw that game, I could have sworn it was 52.5 for Carver and myself. It's 57.5. Okay, so Carver's right. 57.5. Last year, 29-26. As we know, the home team has won 5 straight in the series. LSU last year covered as a 4-point dog. The game goes to overtime. You saw Garrett Nussmeier step up with a dominating performance in the fourth quarter, hit Mason Taylor multiple times, hit Kyron Lacey as well with the game-winning touchdown pass, the late Kyron Lacey, and that's how the LSU Tigers pulled it out. I'll get into a deeper dive when I give my breakdown about the side in that matchup. So pick number 2 for Carver, under LSU Ole Miss, under 57.5. Pick number 3, West Virginia, plus the 12.5. Not a bad pick. When you look at West Virginia, a little bit disappointing. They go on the road catching 13.5 against Kansas last week. They get blown out 41-10. They have the emotional victory 2 weeks ago against Pittsburgh. Rich Rod, you know, whenever you have a new head coach, the biggest thing to teach, and you could ask Coach Bowden when he's on the show, is the consistency from week to week. The consistency to get those kids to buy in. It'll take a year, and that's why we always say the biggest progression for a head coach when they buy into the system is year 1 to year 2. So Carver's backing up. You got a hot and cold team right now in West Virginia. One day they're on, the next day they're off, but they get a Utah team in Devin Dampierre in Utah that got absolutely smacked around in the fourth quarter by Texas Tech. And this is the biggest identity, I think, for the Red Raiders this year. Defensively, they have stepped up. Now, what can Utah? Utah was known for playing bully ball in the Pac-12. They come to the Big 12, which is recognized as a finesse conference. And quite honestly, the Utes have struggled. Can they bounce back? They're laying a huge number in Morgantown. As we know, Morgantown, a very difficult place to play. I like Carver's take here. I would probably take the points. Again, this is a game I'm not betting from the spread perspective or even the total perspective, but Carver does like the 12.5 points with West Virginia. Big matchup, Penn State and Oregon. I did pick against Carver here, but again, it's not on my sheet. You look at this spread. My heart's telling me Oregon. The numbers are basically saying Penn State. Now, I will just say this. Carver's taking the 3.5 with Oregon in this matchup. You just look at the Ducks overall, 13-0 in the regular season. They beat this team in the Big Ten championship. Dylan Gabriel was lights out in that matchup. Drew Aller had success. The rushing attack at Katron Allen and Nick Singleton had success. Penn State, from a defensive perspective, had no answers for the Oregon offense. Is Dante Moore that guy? Is Dante Moore going to be that veteran leader in a tough environment up against a quality defense? And we know Jim Knowles knows Oregon's offense very well. I think that's the matchup too, knowing that Jim Knowles shut down Dylan Gabriel in the Rose Bowl last year in the semifinal playoff. That's an added benefit potentially for the Penn State team. We know about the numbers for James Franklin, 4-20 overall against top 10 opponents. We know the history and the dominance of Penn State. Over an 800 winning percentage at home. Potentially he beats up on nobodies. He hasn't done that this year. That's also maybe shows a more mature team. Maybe they're holding back in this matchup. That's always a possibility. I will say from the spread perspective, this is the lowest spread that Michigan, Penn State has laid since 2016 when they faced off against Minnesota and PJ Fleck. And that, I think it was Fleck was there. I have to double check with Jerry Kill, but 2016 or Tracy Claeys, 2016, they won that matchup with Trace McSorley, 29-26. They laid 3.5 in that matchup. So this is the lowest favorite that Penn State has been from the spread-wise dating back almost 9 years. So that just tells you how much the books believe that Oregon could be live in this matchup. I'll lean to Penn State in this ball game. I don't love it. It's not a game I'm going to be betting, but my heart does tell me I would love to see Dan Lanning step up. I think you give the coaching advantage to Lanning, you give the quarterback advantage and home field advantage to Penn State, and we'll see if they can pull it out. Carver's going against the grain. He's taking the 3.5 with the Ducks. Bama and Georgia over 53.5. It's not a bad look. This game did not make my card. I do like Georgia in the matchup. The 2.5. We know about the numbers. Alabama has won 9 of the last 10. They've won 4 of the last 5 by an average margin of victory of 11 points per game. Ty Simpson, a better pocket passer than maybe Milroe was. You can make that argument. Milroe at times struggled, but the one thing you can't take away is Jalen Milroe's athleticism on the perimeter last year. He counted for 4 touchdowns. The RPO game really had Georgia back on its heels from a defensive perspective. So that's going to be the matchup. Without Jalen Milroe in that offense, they do get Jam Miller back. Can Alabama move the football, especially if Ty Simpson's forced to stay in the pocket and can't break contain? He did a great job last week against a slow Wisconsin team, and Luke Fickell and that team are on the hot seat. But that's going to be the matchup going up against Georgia. I like Georgia here. 33-game home winning streak. It almost got snapped last year against Georgia Tech, 48-46, 8 overtimes. The one thing I think when you look at Georgia, identity-wise, when you just look at Georgia, they're starting to look like the days of old when they won back-to-back national championships. And I keep going back to this. Last year, Georgia only rushed for 132 yards on the ground per game. They had one game where they rushed for over 200. Why is that important? Well, when you sustain drives and you have a lead, you keep opposing offenses on the sidelines. And we saw them get the rushing attack going with Nate Frazier in the overtime against Tennessee. I still was impressed with Georgia pulling that game out in Knoxville. And people will say, but Joe, they gave up 41 points to a Tennessee offense. Joey Aguilar's an upgrade. And to make adjustments after trailing 21-7, I was very impressed in that matchup. Again, Georgia did not make the card this week. But the one thing that I like is Georgia's ability to pound the rock. Alabama gave up 240 to Florida State in week number 1. They're giving up 138 yards on the ground to opposing offenses. That's important. And we talk about the back-to-back national championship years with Stetson Bennett. Year 1, they rushed for over 200 8 times. Year 2, they rushed for over 200 6 times. Like I said, last year they only rushed for over 200 1 time. But think about the game that they went on the road and they faced off against Texas. It wasn't Carson Beck. He threw for 175 yards, no touchdowns, 3 interceptions. It was Trevor Etienne that had a big performance, I believe 79, 80 yards on the ground, 3 rushing touchdowns. When push comes to shove, Kirby Smart relies on the rushing attack. Dating back to 2016, Georgia, 51-0. That's no joke. Dating back 9 years. Every time Georgia rushes for over 200 yards, they are 51-0 straight up against FCS and FBS opponents. Against FBS opponents, they've won those games by an average margin of victory of 30-plus points per game. So complete dominance for the Georgia Bulldogs. We saw this line open up at 3.5. It's down to 2.5 respectively. Carver likes the over. I like Georgia. Not a pick that made my card, but that's where we're at. I got people asking me, where's Carver? On vacation? Yes, Carver is on vacation with the family all week. We said we would put out the picks, and that's what we're doing. I'm going through Carver's picks right now. Illinois, under 57.5, LSU and Ole Miss. West Virginia, plus the 12.5. Oregon, plus the 3.5. Alabama, Georgia, over 53.5. The other 2 picks for Carver. KU, Kansas, playing Cincinnati. At home, Jalen Daniels and this team coming off a home win. They're back home. They're laying 4.5. playing Cincinnati. Carver's laying the 4.5 points. And then Notre Dame and Arkansas under the 63.5. Love the look by Carver. Why? You look at the matchup, and I understand that Purdue put up some points by that Notre Dame defense. Is Notre Dame's defense exactly the way it was last year? No. But they've started to come together. They've made some adjustments. They're starting to understand, who could step up in game situations. They made second half adjustments against the Boilermakers. Offensively, CJ Carr came on. But make no mistake about it, if Notre Dame, and this game is on my card, sidewise, if Notre Dame is going to win this game, they're going to do it with the rushing attack. Jeremiah Love coming off 157-yard performance, couple of touchdowns on the ground. You look at the fourth quarter for Arkansas, they had a double-digit lead. Taylor Green is one of the most unheralded, underrated quarterbacks in all of FBS. If he was on any other team, if he was on Ohio State, if he was on Penn State, if he was on Alabama or Georgia or Tennessee, he would be a Heisman frontrunner right now. That's how good Taylor Green is. This offense for Arkansas is converting 66% on third down conversions. They're averaging and totaling over 550 yards of offense against opposing defenses. But the defense got shredded in the fourth quarter. Turnovers have killed this team, and the rushing attack of Memphis really wore down the front seven of the Razorbacks. They're at home. This line opened up at 6.5. It's down to 4.5. A lot of people like Arkansas in the matchup. I think it's a bad matchup for the Razorbacks. I'll get into it in a little bit, but Carver thinks under 63.5. I sort of agree. I think Notre Dame controls the clock. They run the football, keep Taylor Green in a more explosive offense on the sidelines. They'll grind it out, and the under. So those are Carver's 7 college picks. If you're just joining, I'll give you the updated stats, picks of entering week number 5. Lisi at 24-12 overall, trending at a 667 rate. Carver at 16-22, trending at a 421 rate, but he can always make back ground. He's a strong finisher, so keep an eye out. I'll read you Carver's picks right now. 7 selections for Mike Carver. Illinois plus the 6.5. LSU, Ole Miss under 57.5. West Virginia plus the 12.5. Oregon plus the 3.5. Bama, Georgia over the total 53 and a hook. KU, Kansas minus the 4.5. And Notre Dame, Arkansas under the 63.5. Now I'm going to go to my picks. I'm going to jump right into it. So we'll lead with the Notre Dame game. And I believe just when you lose 2 games the way Arkansas did, final drive, they should be 4-0. Instead, they're 2-2. Sam Pittman's on the hot seat. Bobby Petrino potentially wants the job. You got the fan base up in arms. Maybe it's John Gruden. Maybe it's somebody else. It's possible, but you got a blue-collar team coming to town. Who? Notre Dame, blue-collar. This is going to be a tough matchup. You want to give me 2 points of discount? I'll take it. I think it's a big day for Jeremiah Love. I think it's a big day for the offensive line. And don't be shocked if Notre Dame's defense all of a sudden bounces back into form from what you saw the previous 3 weeks. I know they got shredded by Marcel Reed. I know Carson Beck in that attack put up some points on them. But Marcus Freeman in this spot, I like to lay the wood. I think it's a big rushing day for Notre Dame. I'm going to lay it 4.5. Could be a Mortadella special. I think it is Mortadella style. What? Mortadella style. I said it. It's a Mortadella special. Right out of the gate. It's a crypto play? No. It's a Mortadella smash your book special. Notre Dame. Minus the 4.5. Minus the 4.5 over Woo Pig Suey. Couple other caveats. Notre Dame's never played Arkansas. Notre Dame straight up against SEC opponents all time, 38-18 overall. One more thing. Another factor that I like, and even though they didn't win the game, it was a very close game. They got back into it week 1. Marcus Freeman in road type of performances has stepped up. 8-1 last year on the road or on a neutral field. He had 5 neutral field wins, including 2 in the college football playoff. Typically on the road, Notre Dame comes to play. I like that recipe. I'm laying the 4.5. Mortadella style, Notre Dame, pick number 1. Pick number 2, we talked about the LSU game with Ole Miss. Home team has won 5 straight in the series. But I don't know if Ole Miss, and not to take away from Trinidad Chambliss, I don't know if Ole Miss has the best quarterback in this matchup. But, Joe, Nussmeier's not playing well. I get it. He's not playing well considering the stats that he put up last year where they would just spread you and throw you, putting up 315 total yards per game. But this LSU front 7 is only giving up 62 yards on the ground, okay? They're only giving up 184 passing yards to opposing offenses. And, oh, by the way, holding opposing offenses to 27% on third down conversions. Okay, in terms of biggest spot, this is the biggest game, whether Trinidad Chambliss or Austin Simmons starts, biggest game of their career. I'd rather have the veteran quarterback in Garrett Nussmeier going on the road. LSU opened as a 1.5-point favorite in this game. They're 1.5-point dogs. I think they could throw it. This is certainly not the same front 7 in Ole Miss that we've seen last year. They only gave up 80 rushing yards per game, best rush defense in all of the conference last year. Now they enter this matchup allowing 190 rushing yards per game. And I understand they contain Tulane. This is a different animal when you're talking about Aaron Anderson and Bowers Sharp at the tight end position and Barry M. Brown and Nick Anderson. I mean, this is a different animal. And when you see Caleb Jackson and Caden Dorm coming out of the backfield, this is going to be a very difficult offense to defend. Every level they stress you on. I think LSU comes to play. I think they're the better team. I understand the trends are going in Ole Miss's favor. I don't buy it. Here's another factor as well. There's a lot of stuff going on in LSU with Ole Miss and just think of that they're dominant. This team in Ole Miss, Mortadella special right out of the gate. First 2, LSU, smash your bookie. LSU outright, plus the 1.5. LSU smashes Ole Miss. I'm tired of this Ole Miss team. All right? They could beat everybody else and be an at-large team if they could step up. Too bad they couldn't do it last year with Jackson Dart. We'll see. Styles make fights. LSU's the better team, in my opinion. Better defense, better quarterback, and we'll see how it plays out. Pick number 2. Pick number 3. Here come the dogs. I talked about on the show how last week, 6-14 or 6-13, Justin Wilcox was on the road or on a neutral field as a head coach the previous 3 years. He goes on the road. The line goes from 12.5 Cal to 14.5-point favorites against the Aztecs. They got smacked in the teeth. They lose the game outright, 34-0. Don't even score. Now they got to go back on the road, cross country, earlier kick. Boston College coming off 2 straight losses. Boston College coming out with an extra week of preparation. Lonergan, Bill O'Brien versus Justin Wilcox. I get that the trends are in Boston College's favor, potentially. I don't think Boston College is all that good. They lost to Stanford. They were undisciplined. I know Lonergan can put up points. That's fine. But I think Cal bounces back in a big way. I think they're a little bit faster than Boston College. They're catching 6.5 in Chestnut Hill. Give me the points with the Cal Bears. I think they bounce back to form. Everybody that jumped off them last week will be afraid to jump on them this week. I'm taking the points with the Bears in this matchup. Virginia Tech started 0-3. They win one for Brent Pry, and it was against Wolford. 1-3, FCS opponent, no big deal. And NC State, who was undefeated, gets smacked around by Darian Mensah and Duke, 45-33. They now come back home to Raleigh. You look at this team overall. NC State, yeah, they're the better team, but it's still the first conference game for Virginia Tech. Virginia Tech is 0-3 out of conference. They won the game last week. They get a little momentum. You're going to get, I believe, Virginia Tech's best effort this week with an interim staff. If they lose this game, then I think they pack it in. But the fact that they're catching 9.5 points right now, I'm going to take Virginia Tech. I think they're live. I'm not sold on NC State. They gave up a ton of points. I think Virginia Tech could expose them. I think this game could be a shootout, but I'm going to take the Hokies plus the 9.5 points. Very ACC-centric this week. Another big game, Duke and Syracuse. Syracuse going with the backup. He stepped up. Great performance, filling in for Steve Angeli that had Achilles surgery. I was going to go with the total in this game. But I like Darian Mensah and I like Duke. I think they're a little bit more physical than Syracuse. I understand that they went into Death Valley and got the victory as a 16.5-point dog. They rode that emotion with the backup quarterback in the fourth quarter. It was a long wait. Now you come back home. I like Manny Diaz. I like Darian Mensah in this spot. I think they bounce back in a big way. This line opened up. Duke as a 5.5-point favorite. It's down to 4.5. Total really intrigues me. I like the over, but I'm going with Duke. I think Duke hands Syracuse the loss. I think they win it by double digits. Might be close for a half, but I think Diaz will be able to scheme up against a new quarterback, inexperienced, making his first start in the Dome. I'm going to lay the points with the Duke Blue Devils in that matchup. The total in Air Force Hawaii. Last time these teams played were back in the island, back in 2019. Hawaii got the victory 27-13. So now this total is 5 years, 6 years later. Air Force laying 6.5 at home. They're a more explosive offense. I get that. But I still think Hawaii could put up points. And when you're scheming for Air Force on the road, it's going to be a tough animal, I think, for Hawaii to defend them. I love the total here. 52.5. You're getting an extra point at discount, down from 53.5. I think we can get this game into the 60s. Last time, 5-6 years ago, they only put up 40 points. This is a different Hawaii team defensively. They're not that good, in my opinion, but I think Air Force defensively as well could be exploited by the Hawaii offense. I'm going over 52.5, Air Force and Hawaii. Late night matchup in Boulder. Rematch of the bowl game, BYU and Colorado. BYU laying 6.5 against the Buffaloes in this matchup. I get it. BYU is the better team. Colorado 2-2, disappointing. But I will say this. Against Wyoming, you saw the Caden Salter that you thought you were going to get. That was a very inexperienced secondary by Wyoming. Salter took advantage of it. He throws for 304, 3 touchdowns, rushes for 86 yards. That's the guy you wanted to see when he transferred over from Liberty. They're playing with a little bit of house money. Dion in a revenge spot. Let's see it. Plus 6.5. I like the Buffaloes here. It's a rematch. I'm not sold on Bachmeier. I'm not sold on BYU big picture. I'm going to take the Buffaloes. I think they can score on them. Even if they don't win the game outright, I think they're going to be well within the number. So I like the Buffaloes plus the points. I'll give you the Mortadella specials again. Just throw it out. Mortadella. Here we go. Notre Dame. Smash your bookie. Minus the 4.5. LSU. Outright. Plus the 1.5. And you know what? I like Cal plus the 6.5 and Virginia Tech plus the 10.5, 9.5 as the 4 Mortadellas. There you go. You have it. I mean, I like all 4 of those games overall, the Mortadellas. So 4 of the 7 are Mortadellas. Cal, Va Tech, Notre Dame, and LSU. We'll recap one more time if you're just joining us. I'll give you Carver's picks and then mine. Carver's picks for the college, and then we'll do a quick pro. Illinois, plus the 6.5. Under, 57.5, LSU and Ole Miss. West Virginia, plus the 12 and a hook. Oregon, plus the 3.5. Bama, Georgia, over 53.5. KU, Kansas, minus the 4.5. Notre Dame, Arkansas, under There's 63.5. I'll just give you the updated college picks again. There you go. I mean, got to do it. We have to do it. My 7 picks. Mortadell, Notre Dame minus the 4.5. Mortadell, LSU plus the 1.5. Mortadella, Joey, we like to eat plus the 6.5 with Cal. Mortadella and Joey, where's the braciole? I like the braciole, mama. Virginia Tech plus the 9.5. Duke minus the 4.5, over 52.5. Air Force, Hawaii, and Colorado plus the 6.5. Your college picks for Carver and Lisi. But wait, there's more. It's like an infomercial. We got the NFL picks. Here we go. Dun, 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 dun. I mean, I don't know what more I could do for everybody. I mean, people want picks. I give them picks. I'm hitting at 83%. 83%, 83%, 83%. There's nothing I could do. Carver, I can't help it. He'd do it to me if I started slow. He'd hit me over the head with a billy club. All right? One of us is hot and one of us isn't. Quick recap. I do not like the college show as much, but I like it enough. Smash job, Chris. Smash. Bubba, I see you. Love the under in Utah State Vandy. I just say be careful. Vanderbilt, again, they're beating up teams right now. And the one thing is you always worry about Vanderbilt is, again, they haven't been in this position undefeated. It's been a long time. What are they going to do? Let me look at the total, and I'll tell you right now. I just want to look at one thing. I'll give you my thoughts on the total, Vanderbilt and Utah State. Give me 1 second. I just want to see one thing here. 58.5. I just want to see one thing for Vandy. Let me just say. It's tough because they next week have Alabama, and that's always a problem. Because if and I know, yes, the under because you pull the starters if they're up big, and I get that. But the backups too, you still have to prepare. And in that type of situation, 58.5, it's juiced to the under at minus 112. It's a 12.45 kick. I mean, it's not a bad look. I don't love it. But I understand with the look ahead, maybe they'll pull starters if they get out. Otherwise, what about Diego Pavia potentially as a dark horse for the Heisman? That's the only other factor, right? When you have a guy that's hot, you want to roll that hot hand. You want to have that offense humming. Does he keep him in two quarters, 3 quarters? That would always be a problem in respect to that ball game. But we'll see. Hit me up tomorrow. I'll talk more about that potentially on College Football Today. We'll dive into the NFL picks. I'm 10-2, Carver 3-9. A tale of 2 hosts right now. Let me give you Carver's picks, and I'll talk about them. Tampa Bay plus the 3.5 over the Eagles. Giants plus the 6.5 over the Chargers. Baltimore, KC over the 48.5. Both teams in a must-win situation. Whoever loses that will be 1-3. And Pittsburgh, he loves this Pittsburgh team. Can't get away from it. Plus the 2.5 against Minnesota. All right, I'll talk to the NFL picks. So I get it with the backup for Minnesota and Aaron Rodgers in this situation. But can Brian Flores dial up any blitz packages to get to him in this ball game? That would be my only concern. Laying the 2.5, and I understand backup going up against Aaron Rodgers. He seems like he has an advantage. I'm not sold on Pittsburgh, so I don't like the pick so much. I would probably lay it in that situation. Tampa, here's the thing for Carver. I'll ask does Tampa have the Eagles' number? And what do I mean by that? Well, Baker beat him in the playoff game a couple of Years ago, that was the year Kelsey retired, and they had the new OC and the new DC, and they fell off a cliff, started 10-1, end 1-5. All right. But knowing how the Eagles performed last week, seeing that Tampa came out a little flat, they pull it out against the Jets. No Mike Evans in this game. No Mike Evans with the hammy again. I mean, the guy pulls a hamstring every year for like the last 5 or 6 years. Do we believe that Bucky Irvin and Rachaad White can run on that front seven? They weren't that great last week. They turned it on in the second half. Now you have a team that's beaten you once in the regular season last year in Tampa, and they beat you in the playoffs 2 years ago. Now, granted, A.J. Brown didn't play in that game, I believe. I think A.J. Brown was not in the lineup last year. It was Saquon. They were banged up. I don't think Goddard played, or maybe he did, and it was Calcaterra. I'm not sure about that, but that would be my only concern is how, everybody's calling the Eagles lucky. If this was Kansas City, we'd be saying what a great team. That would be the only caveat. I don't like the Tampa pick as much. I would lean to Philadelphia, but again, that game is not on my card, ironically, for the NFL picks. All right, so 2 of the 4 for Carver in the NFL. To reiterate, Tampa plus the 3.5, Pittsburgh plus the 2.5, Giants plus the 6.5 with the kid, Action Jackson. Can we get over the 43.5 is the bigger question for me. Does Brian Dable break off the cuffs on the rookie, or is he going to basically, just be conservative and have his stones in the cupboard? Is he going to have his stones? Hey, they're in the cupboard. I just went to get some coffee, and there are my stones. I mean, give me a break, Brian Dable. I mean, what an offensive wheel. He's an offensive guru. Unbelievable. Over Baltimore, Kansas City, 48.5. I mean, I like the look, I guess. I mean, both teams desperate, knowing that Baltimore defense is a sieve, and knowing that Lamar puts up points and yards. That's why Carver likes the over. I don't have a problem with it, but it's not on my NFL card. I'll reiterate the records again and then just go over it. This is a little bit long. There we go. All right, I'm back. Don't worry about it. So Carver's picks here for the NFL. And there is the updated Carver and Lisi picks. All right, so I'm going to give you my picks. I feel good about them. I like them. I'll dive right into it. Total, I like the best, and this is a mortadell. San Fran and Jacksonville over the 46.5. And I understand Jacksonville against Houston. Houston's just a dead team. Houston laying 7.5 against Tennessee this week. I think they should win and cover that, but I have no confidence in just the offensive system. I don't like DeMeco Ryans this year. He's a coach that all of a sudden now turned into another defensive coordinator that wants to try and win games 17-13, and instead he loses them, as opposed to trying and allowing CJ Stroud and that offense to cook and win ball games 40-20. Why win 40-20 when you could lose them 21-17? That's DeMeco Ryans, the Dr. Evil of the NFL. So I don't buy into that performance with Jacksonville last week. There were some missed opportunities. They were forced into that type of style by DeMeco Ryans. I know San Francisco with Mac Jones trended to the under last week against Arizona. Arizona at times is a hot and cold team. You saw it last week. They started slow against Seattle. They came on in the fourth quarter too little, too late, and they lose at 23-20. I think both offenses will push a little bit of tempo. I believe, actually like Jacksonville with the 3.5, but I love the over 46.5. That's my mortadella special in the NFL. Over 46.5. Jacksonville and San Fran. Pick number 2. Everybody loves Dan Campbell again. Everybody loves this offense again. Everybody believes, right, in biting elbows, knocking off kneecaps because they beat up on the lowly Bears and Baltimore. And I think Baltimore sucks from a defensive perspective. I keep saying it. Ray Lewis, Ed Reed, Terrell Suggs, they ain't coming out there, okay? This isn't the same John Harbaugh defense where, gang tackle and all of a sudden we shut down the run and you could only get 20 yards per game, okay? So, yes, they had a solid offensive performance against the Bears and the Baltimore defense. But now you get a good quality defense, and you could call it what it is. I don't care. The Browns may suck, but their defense is legit, led by Myles Garrett, and now you're going to give me 9.5 points with the Browns coming off a victory. Remember, everybody loved Green Bay in that game. They lose the game outright, and now the Browns are playing with a little bit of house money. And I understand that Detroit on paper is the better team, but they're still a finesse team. I'm going to take the blue-collar Browns. I think they find a way to be well within this number, and don't be shocked. Don't be shocked if they win the game outright. Browns plus the 9.5. I just like the defense. They play an ugly style, and even though Flacco isn't, throwing 500 yards per game, I think the recipe is keep Jared Goff on the sidelines. Let's limit possessions. Let's trend to the under, and let's see if we can get out of there potentially with a 21-17 victory. Browns pick number 2. Las Vegas laying the 1.5 in this matchup. Now, everybody, here's another team when you look at this game. Las Vegas, nobody buying into Pete Carroll. Nobody buying into the team with Geno Smith. They lose last Thursday night to L.A. I get it. They stunk. But they still have Brock Bowers. They still have some playmakers. Ashton Genty not running the football as effectively. But they're laying 1.5. I just want to make sure that's right against the Bears. And the Bears beat up on the Dallas Cowboys. Breakout performance for Caleb. Breakout performance for just, Ben Johnson in that offense. But that was at home. That was against Dallas. CD Lamb goes down in the first quarter of that game, the first half of that game. Just the mindset of Dallas, I don't want to say caved in, but just completely outcoached in that matchup. Now they got to go on the road to Las Vegas. Veteran in Geno Smith, better coach significantly in Pete Carroll. They're not giving them anything of a home field advantage. I like Las Vegas to pull it out. They're a blue-collar team. I like the Raiders. I think they run it. I think they throw it. I'm just not sold on Chicago as a whole, especially in a road spot for Ben Johnson. Look at his last road performance. He got blown out by Detroit. I don't see it. So until he could step up and showcase that next week, and I know it's only one game on the road, I'm going to take the home team laying a short number. Maybe they win it by a field goal, but I like Las Vegas minus the 1.5, pick number 3. 2 years ago, Jordan Love and the Green Bay Packers went in and beat the Dallas Cowboys. They beat the Dallas Cowboys as a 6.5-point dog, okay? That has been circled on the sheet. The fact that Micah Parsons is coming back to Dallas, don't think Jerry doesn't know. And don't think Jerry doesn't have bags of cash waiting for everybody in the locker room to step up and find a way to win this game. Plus 6.5 as a live dog. I don't care if CD plays or not. That's insignificant to me. I think this defense makes a statement somehow, some way. I think not that it's a bounty game, but Jerry has made this personal enough where he's going to have this team motivated some way, somehow, come Sunday night in his house, knowing that Matt LaFleur and the Green Bay Packers walked in 2 years ago in a playoff environment and beat their ass to the ground. Give me the Cowboys, and don't be shocked if the Cowboys win the game outright. Pick number 4, Mortadella. The 2 Mortadellas that I like, Dallas plus the 6.5 and the over Jacksonville, 46.5. That's the pick. So the 4 picks for me. Over 46.5, Jacksonville, San Fran. Browns plus the 9.5. Dallas plus the 6.5. Las Vegas minus the 1.5. Those are the picks. We'll see you on Sunday. I'll read Carver's NFL picks again. Last one. There you go for Carver. Carver's NFL. Tampa Bay plus the 3.5. Giants plus the 6.5. Baltimore, I said it, Baltimore, KC over 48.5, and Pittsburgh plus the 2.5. Your picks for the weekend. Enjoy Carver and Lisi. Carver will be back next week. Have a great weekend, everyone. We'll see you next week. Hit me up on Twitter.